Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk to you a little bit about the touch of a lady. And as you know, I do a lot of facial expressions and body language. And that's because, like I say, I don't speak Spanish. I run around in Central America, so the way I express myself is what you see. And one of the things that I noticed, my wife used to do the same thing to me. It was funny how she could, how do you say, kind of calm me down. It's not like I don't have a temper. I don't get really excited or nothing like that. But she has this knack, and it's not just me. But like I say, what she would do, she'd put her arm through my arm, and then just by holding that arm, boy, it makes me feel like I'm really Superman. You know, I mean, I could feel the muscles in me coming out the way she held me, or held my arm. And then what was really unique and what was really cool, and I never thought about it at the time, but we'd be walking along, like in well, wherever we're at, whether we're running around in Central America or in the United States, someplace, any place, it doesn't make any difference. But and as we're walking, and there'd be like 2 or 3 or 4 guys start walking up to us or something, I could feel the pressure on her arm. And it's funny, I've never really thought so much about it. And but what it is that pressure. When she puts that pressure on there, she's letting me know she's getting concerned. And it's funny because she expected me to act like a man. So when it was time, what she would do is, like I say, she would give me the pressure to know that, you know, hey, wake up, there's stuff coming around. So then, and the thing that was funny, when it really seemed like we had a problem, she would let go of my arm and step behind me. And when she did that, you know, well, she's telling me time to man up. And so that's basically how we did things. Now my wife, I will admit, that she was Chinese, and she was born and brought up here in Guatemala. And so she was really, she didn't like violence. She hated violence really bad. And one of the things was, when we first got married, boy, she really didn't like my guns and stuff like that. And so it wasn't good at all. But as time went on and she understood that I'm not a violent person, but I do realize there's violence, just like she understands there's violence. It was funny because when situations happened, and she, like I say, she would grab my arm to calm me down, and but when she could see that, and I'll tell you, she hated violence so bad that when she could see that the situation was getting volatile, then she would release my arm, and like I say, she would leave the room or get around so she wouldn't have to see what was getting ready to happen. And it was funny because it was the same thing when I was training SWAT teams. She never came down to watch me train the SWAT teams. She just hated to see all that violence. I mean, all she knew is when I got done, when I'd come home, then I'd be all beat up, bloody, cut up, and then she'd have to mend me and take care of me, and then we're right back to that lady's touch when she, you know, like I say, when she gives me the kiss on the forehead and tells me everything is going to be okay, and then that really makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And so the physical part of the lady is what makes her the lady. And there was a time, my lady never ridiculed me. She corrected me a lot. I say I make mistakes, and she, like I say, she would correct me. But one thing she did know is I never did things bad intentionally. And one of the things, whenever I would say something the wrong way or the wrong tone of voice or something like that, she would look at me and she would say, "Are you trying to hurt me?" And really, I was trying to get my own way and stuff like that. So I mean, I might have been. You know, I would raise my voice or I would say something inappropriately, and the way she would stop me is by telling me, "Are you trying to hurt me?" And when she says that, well, then I feel like an ass because why would I want to hurt her? You know. So then she makes me tell her the truth. Well, I'm trying to get my way. I'd really like to buy this, or I like to do this, or something like that. And then she'd say, "Well, why don't you just say that? You don't need to try to hurt me to get your way." And then it worked. So that was one of these things. And it was funny because even with all the things that I've done, okay, like when I was in the convenience store shooting, when the same thing. It was funny. Thursday, I put her on the plane to send her down to see her family, and so then you know, she gave me a hug and a kiss, told me don't get in trouble, and I go, "Oh yes, of course." You know how, I don't know if all women are like that, but she treats me like a mama, you know, like my mama would. And so then I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." And then so then that was Thursday, and then Friday night, wouldn't you know, you know, so I give her a call, and I told her, "Well, I shot somebody," and then she says, "Are you all right?" And I go, "Yeah," and he says, "Well, what did they do?" I told him, "Well, you know, they tried to rob the store I was in." And she says, "Oh, well, okay then. Well, if you have any problems, just give me a call." Okay, no problem. So, I mean, she knew me well enough that for me to do something to somebody, it's not like I lost control or something like that. So, but I say it's that kindness and thoughtfulness that the woman has to the man that that makes him do things that he normally wouldn't. One time I had a supper club, kind of like a roadhouse. I mean, it was pretty good size, over 300 seating, and had two bars. One was a cowboy bar. This was in Oklahoma, and one was a Polynesian bar. So I mean, it had the palm leaves and the bamboo and everything. I mean, it was sharp. And then the other side was the cowboy bar, and I would do all the work, of course. She told me later on in the years that she married me because of my back. You know, so she knew I was a worker, so that's why she married me. But anyway, so I worked all the time, and then usually about 10 o'clock in the evening, people were done eating, and then that's when I would come to the front, and I just kind of walk around in the front, and just or I'd go outside in the parking lot and check that out, stuff like that. And whenever, I never had a bouncer, I always did all that, saved all the fun stuff for myself. And what she would do, well, with anybody, the waitresses, cocktail waitresses, or anybody, whenever there's somebody that, this is a classic place we had, so there was no cussing. So normally when they start cussing, then they start touching, you know, like pushing, and then the next thing we know, we have a fight. So normally when they start cussing, then somebody would tell me, well, first they would tell the people that, you know, we don't cuss in this place. And then they would let me know that this person was cussing, so then I know, you know, that might be something I need to be concerned about later on. And our drinks were really high, expensive. So then it was hard to get, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get drunk in my place. So, but anyway, eventually somebody would start getting pretty mouthy and pretty nasty, and then that's when they would tell me, and then I'd come up there, and then it was funny because normally my wife could throw people out. She had this knack for throwing people out, and it was the same thing. She'd, latch onto their arm, and give them that nice little pressure on the arm, and she'd talk to them and walk them out the door. And then when she gets to the door, she would let them know that they had a little bit too much to drink, and they need to kind of take it easy, and then come back next week. Once they get calmed down and stuff, and then so they get thrown out, and they didn't even know about it. So so she used the same tactic, not only on me but on everybody else. But sometimes I would come up, and like there'd be like a group of them, and like a birthday party or something like that, and they're really having a lot of fun and starting to get a little too much fun. And then she would, like I say, she would come up to me and she'd hang on to my arm, and it would show like, we're the owners of the place, so we'd appreciate you calm down. Now, if that didn't work, it was funny because she would let go of my arm and she would leave the room. So in other words, she's saying, time to get him out, and I'd have to do whatever I had to do to get him out. So it was, for what I'm saying is, a good woman, really, they've got the abilities to handle a man. And to me, that's how you describe a lady. A lady without talking, even though she can talk. Because a lot of times my wife will talk in a nice, sweet voice and have me do all kinds of stuff that I don't really want to do. And so she would use that. But a lot of times, just her touch. Her touch could tell me what it is I need to do. And that touch would tell me if she was proud of me, that I did the right thing. And she never ridiculed me or was nasty when I wasn't around. I mean, when other people were around. I mean, after I already threw everybody out or whatever happened, well, then she would take me off, and she'd let me know if I handled it right or if I could have done better and stuff like that. So, but what I'm saying is the touch of a woman can make a man do lots and lots of stuff. So, and men, you got to be aware of that. I mean, that's one thing. I'm awful slow. I'm not real quick. But one thing I do know is the touch. And I say so. So a woman, it's easy to control me just by touching me. And so I don't know if all men are the same way, but I say it works good on me. And women, I would suggest you try using that feminine touch that you have, that you can make a man do a lot of stuff. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the touch of a lady. Thank you. This is Mike, No Stress Mike.